What's a wild story that you'll never forget from high school? One time, some kid let a bunch of chickens loose in the hallways as a prank during senior year. They were running everywhere and it was chaos. Lowell took forever for the teachers to catch them all. One time, there was a massive fight between the football team and the basketball team in the middle of the cafeteria during lunch. The fight was stopped by the lacrosse team. There was an event in our school, it's Teachers' Day, when a brawl of students happened outside our campus. One of our teachers went outside to stop the brawl when he suddenly grabbed the gun of our school guard, intending to fire a warning shot when he accidentally pulled the trigger, firing it on the ground and hitting one of the students. Sadly, the student reportedly died on the spot. The teacher has been arrested and imprisoned. We had a teacher grab a student by the neck and pin him up against the wall. Instead of getting fired immediately, the school said they would relieve him of his duties at the end of the year. This teacher then took to Twitter and started posting pictures of him self-naked, tagging porn stars and asking them if they would do scenes with him. He then tweeted out a video of him snorting cocaine and piercing his own nipples, again while completely naked. Some students caught on to his Twitter page, and it spread like wildfire the next day around school. About halfway through class, 2 cops walked into the room, picked him up, and carried all the way off the property. I have not heard anything about him after that day. We duct taped the principal's car to a tree. My high school didn't have anything that bad, but the school district I moved to there from was nuts. The biggest story was that a teacher was caught having a lesbian relationship with a student behind her husband's back, and then when the student turned 18, the teacher divorced her husband and then they got married. I think they are still together. Wild. Depends is a drive-by shooting in the school parking lot more or less wild than the shooting threat inside the school. This is one of the major ones, but it was a few years before my time. The teacher's ex-husband arrived at the school armed and ready to murder her. With incredible bravery, this woman was able to get him into a storage area where her class could not see him. After shooting her, he took his own life. She thankfully made it through and was still enrolled in the school. Her son was a student in my year. The science teacher at school discovered me smoking pot. After removing it from me, he requested if I could meet him later in the day. He gave it back to me when I went to his office, saying it was good stuff and asking if I could get him some. I went to military school, there was a lot. One of the TAC officers pulled a gun on a student. He was fired and promptly hired by a rival military school. My English teacher was a Vietnam vet and a biker. Someone stole the knob to his old school radiator in the classroom in like 1975, and he said until he got that exact knob back, he wouldn't turn on the heat and kept the windows open in the winter. He'd be in a short-sleeve shirt and we're in our shit jackets freezing our arse off. He kept a bucket by his desk. In it was whatever he felt like putting in it. The chalk dust from his erasers, pencil shavings, spit. He'd let it build up and always threatened to throw the bucket on anybody who fell asleep. I never saw him do it, but there were always rumours he had. What he would do if you fell asleep, though, was kick the bottom of your desk with his biking boots. Hard. Saw him do that a lot. Funny enough, though, he was one of the best teachers I ever had. Dude introduced me to a lot of crazy concepts I'd never been exposed to before. Wild shit happened at that school. I think I'm a little fucked up from going, honestly. China school excursion. A 16-year-old girl from my grade stole some sunglasses from the airport on the day of our return, and she was apprehended by airport security. She did not go home with the others. To save her, her parents had to take a plane from halfway around the globe to China, made the headlines. Girl in my HS had a huge crush on a guy who wasn't single. IDK why she did this, but she sent nudes of herself to the BF. The GF saw them and reported her to the cops for distributing CP because she was only 16 or 17. There was a rumour that some guy fucked a sheep in the ag farm and she clamped down on him so hard he couldn't get his dick out of her. If you've ever had your hands up a sheep during lambing season, you'll know they can clamp down hard enough to leave your hands black with bruises. No idea if it was true, but the rumour was going strong for years. Mr. King requested suggestions from his students for the name of his upcoming kid. In honor of our recently deceased priest, Father Wayne, I wrote Wayne. After few months, Wayne King was born. I nearly spit out laughing. One wild story from high school that I'll never forget happened during our senior year. Our school had this huge tradition of senior pranks, and one day, our class decided to pull off something epic. We managed to sneak into the school's gym and cover the entire floor with a layer of inflatable pool toys. It was a chaotic mess, but the look on the gym teacher's face when they walked in was priceless. The best part? We all managed to pull it off without getting caught. It's a story we still laugh about every reunion. Our principal tried to do a stunt on stage and he ended up slipping and falling right into the punch bowl. The whole gym went silent for a second, then erupted in laughter. One time we almost blew up the chem lab during an experiment gone wrong. The teacher's face was priceless, but we survived. My high school gym teacher, Mr. T, was boning a girl from the middle school swim team that he coached. It was apparently going on for years and they were hooking up in the school, at parks in the town, at the girl's parents' house and at his house. Dude was married with kids. He used to give all the kids in his classes nicknames. For example, I was the American Dream, my buddy was Sick Boy, etc. He also had his own weird lingo, like instead of saying something was fucked up, he would say, the fugivity levels are off the chart. After realizing he was a pedophile, we started to notice all sorts of red flags, like how he gave my friend Liz the nickname Sexy Liz. Don't know how that didn't raise some questions at the time, LMAO. Also, some dudes stabbed like 20-something kids with 2 chef's knives a couple years after I graduated. Also, there was a crazy chick who wore a fake pregnant woman's belly under her shirt and called in a bomb threat, then got expelled. There was an English teacher no one liked. Everyone knew about her secret stash of whiskey in her drawer she'd sneak pours into her coffee. One time some kids put ipecac in her whiskey. She barfed during class shortly after. The worst, though, was when some kids spiked her coffee with LSD. It was a shit show. She was eventually carried by EMTs into an ambulance. Didn't see her the rest of the year. The time this wannabe tough guy was deadlifting in gym class, he was straining so hard, he shit his pants and it fell right out his shorts onto the mats. The whole school knew by the end of the day. He never lived it down. I went to an expensive private high school full of rich kids. Because of the school's interest in keeping everybody happy and how incredibly privileged some of these kids were, I saw some things that probably would have gotten a person arrested or expelled in other circumstances. The most insane story involved a kid who was frequently the target of a bully. The bully found out that the kid was seriously allergic to peanuts, ate a Reese's peanut butter cup, licked his finger, and then chased the kid around the cafeteria one day, trying to touch him and laughing maniacally. Unfortunately, there wasn't really time for anyone else to react before he was able to tap the kid on the arm with his finger. Kid swelled up like a pufferfish in anaphylaxis and had to go to the ER. Bully got 2 weeks suspension. The kid's parents wanted to press charges, but there was some kind of settlement made, and the whole thing was never spoken of again. 2 female students were found hanged inside a classroom, and the rumor spread that they did it during the night when no one was around. The entire school was shaken by the tragedy, and whispers of the incident circulated for years. It was a haunting event that left everyone on edge, with many students and teachers feeling uneasy every time they entered that classroom. The details of what really happened remained unclear, adding to the mystery and fear surrounding the story. After The Dark Knight came out, a female student went into the bathroom, cut her mouth to look like the Joker, and tried to stab our Spanish teacher. Someone hit her with a chair and got the knife from her. Pretty wild. LOL. We had a bathroom all lit out by the football field. It was one of those cinder block, off yellow-painted jawns. Random day, there was a line of students outside of the bathroom. Turns out there was a girl giving blowjobs in the stalls. Even now I feel like it's a fake story, but I saw the line. I knew people in line, and I know the girl who got caught, the kid who got caught with her. Sad, honestly. When a girl accused my friend and I of trying to rape her when we were at a donut shop across the street from our high school at 7 a.m. because she heard us say, "I'd take that." We were talking about her Ford Mustang. We had no idea she was even in the car or who she was. She was a junior, and we were sophomores, so we'd never met her. We had mutual friends who defended us, saying we'd never do that. Even worse, the police questioned us without our parents there. We were only 16 at the time. We never saw her on campus. She was a Karen in 2002 before it was even a thing. My 6th grade math teacher was arrested for drugs about a year after I left elementary school. It turned out she was using them in her car during lunch hour. Looking back, it made sense why she always seemed so strange after lunch. The news shocked everyone who knew her, and it explained a lot about her odd behavior in the classroom. It was a wild revelation that none of us saw coming. A friend of mine once rollerbladed down a mountain in complete darkness while tripping his balls off, and somehow lived to tell the tale. He made it all the way down, even with traffic on the road. The fact that he didn't crash or get hit is nothing short of a miracle. The guy was absolutely crazy, and it's still one of the wildest stories I've ever heard. We couldn't believe he pulled it off without a scratch. One of the girls who was in the same grade as me and was also in colour guard had had an affair with the band teacher. The news came out soon after graduation, so IDK how long their relationship had been going on, or when it started, or whatever. And I also don't know what happened to the teacher. Oh, and this girl was actually my ex. We dated freshman year, so there's that. Drama nerd brought a gun and pipe bombs to school. There was a girl who ended up pregnant who was a preacher's daughter. Turns out she nailed about 40 guys and told them all they were her first, so it was a massive scramble to find the father. In the end, it was narrowed down to one of her 2 twin brothers. They couldn't figure out which one, since both paternity tests came back positive. After they removed part of a demountable and loaded fireworks within a concrete bin enclosure, 2 individuals were placed on a permanent no-fly list and faced accusations relating to explosives. Since this was Darwin, it was quite easy to get fireworks there. Yet it appeared more difficult to get brains. Someone once jumped down under the pit platform in our theatre and broke their legs trying to get their phone. My best friend and I tried to go coyote hunting once. Turns out we're terrible at it, and all we really wanted to do was wander around a cornfield talking. I'm pretty sure we didn't fire a shot, and I'm certain we didn't see any coyotes. We walked back to his house and decided it would be a good prank to text one another's GFS, telling them we had shot the other. For clarity, he texted my GF, saying something along the lines of, "He went crazy and was threatening to shoot me, and when he raised his gun, I shot him." And I sent the same message to his GF. Unfortunately, in our haste to abandon reason, we'd forgotten that my friend's girlfriend's father was the county sheriff. She told him, and he beelined for us. After the scenario had reached a fever pitch and we learned the sheriff was en route, we quickly came clean. Everyone was angry at us for a while, but we never received the reprimand we deserved. I don't plan on ever mentioning it to anyone but my friend, as I don't want anyone else to remember. Secondarily, at my school, we could have parents sign a waiver to allow us to leave the building if we didn't have a class scheduled. A couple friends and I were hanging out in the parking lot, and I'm not really sure what transpired leading up to it, but before we knew it, we'd built a trash fire in one of the empty parking spots. We had no water, so we just kinda hung out until it all burned. If the question had been about middle school, a simple game of balderdash would be my answer. I no longer remember the word prompt, but the definition my group fabricated was a Japanese dildo ice cream. The old man teaching read it clear as day, blushed and said, "I think I've just read something inappropriate." It was absolutely fucking hilarious, and the detentions were well worth the laughter of our classmates. A bunch of kids walked into the science classroom to see a girl giving head to her boyfriend. She was also apparently naked, apart from her religious headwear. At another school, a coach had been hooking up with cheerleaders for years. When he finally got caught, instead of facing serious consequences, he received immunity by helping the authorities catch people who were embezzling from the school. It was a shocking twist. Everyone expected him to go down, but instead, he managed to escape punishment by turning in others. The whole situation left a bad taste in everyone's mouth and became a notorious story that stuck with people for a long time. A classmate jumped over the school's fence and ran away from school, made into news headlines. Reason? Because he did something wrong and was scared to meet his parents to face the consequences. Some students got into a fight over a jelly donut one morning. By lunchtime, it had brewed into campus-wide racial tensions. My friends and I were walking to Subway when two plainclothes officers came out of nowhere and ordered us to turn around and get back on campus. During the last 15 minutes of lunch period, the open quad area in the middle of the campus turned into a several hundred student mob. Two sophomore girls, one white and one black, got into a fight, and then their boyfriends jumped in. The agricultural sciences teacher, wearing a Kevlar vest, was drop-kicked. Someone knocked down a cop. Tasers and pepper spray were deployed by the school resource officer and one of the vice principals. I was caught in the middle of one chunk of the crowd when I suddenly heard a loud bullhorn. I turned to see a black and white Chevy Impala screaming across the grass straight at me. City, county, and state swooped in with cars to disperse us. When I got to my next class period, physical education, we were made to sit in the gym and listen for PA announcements. They ended up bringing all the buses in early, and we were called out by our bus number and told to go straight to the bus or face severe consequences. I remember several officers with riot gear and beanbag shotguns telling us to stay on the sidewalks and get straight on the bus. Do not stop, keep moving. We were let out of school for several days, and when we returned, it was never the same. Lunch was cut in half, the campus was closed, and underclasses were permanently separated from the senior classes. The bad kids put LSD in the home ec teacher's coffee, and she had to be escorted out of school having a manic breakdown. My friend got into a prestigious boarding school, so we had a feast in the cafeteria to send them off. Complete with a tablecloth, china, candles, with paper flames taped on, a rotisserie chicken that ended up getting thrown over the crowds down the hallway during the transition, and other stuff. Saddest one? Two brothers, youngest murdered the oldest, and their mother. My friend, who is best friends with the older brother, is the one who found their bodies. It was so tragic, I honestly feel it would be disrespectful to say more. Grossest, me and my dumb group of friends went into school grounds middle of night. At one point climbed the water supply tower, and when we found the padlock extremely easy to break, my friend promptly took a shit in it. We had a teacher fucking students. The kids who rather her out got suspended for lying. 6 months later, she gets arrested for fucking a 15-year-old. The quarterback, who was a giant asshole, mind you, the most arrogant piece of crap that everyone loved, but he bullied others, especially those who didn't like sports and thought they were pointless. I remember seeing him blind with rage and tears, with his girlfriend consoling him, complaining about someone who ranted at him that his life's high point was only ever going to be high school and he's going nowhere in life, and ranted off chances of him making a living off of football. How no one likes him, they are just afraid of him or feel sorry for him. The older people are kissing his ass because of a blind love of football, and how pointless his life is going to be, even if he does get into the NFL. A few weeks later, I found out how shit his grades were. The water bottle he always carried around was filled with vodka. He was caught and suspended from football for a while, and from what I learned, his parents are rich, but he flunked out of college, however he got in, and was an abusive prick. When a classmate of mine jumped from the rooftop of our school. Every Halloween, our high school threw a Halloween night dance for the students in the gymnasium that featured Halloween decorations and music, food, drinks, no alcohol for obvious reasons, candy, a chocolate fountain, and of course, dancing. Well, during this one particular Halloween dance, I think I was in the 10th or 11th grade, A group of teenagers who went to my high school decided it would be a good idea to smoke weed. They brought themselves outside the school in an area by the gymnasium. They got busted by one of chaperones, who noticed the smell and went outside to check as a couple exit doors were left open to cool down the gym as it had gotten pretty warm in there. Later on, a fight broke out as someone had gotten intoxicated from drinking beer they'd sneaked in themselves and had made an offensive comment. Don't remember what it was. Cops got called and, well, they broke up the fight and some people got arrested, including the pothead teenagers and the guy who got drunk. The next day, we got a lecture from the teachers and principals about the dangers of marijuana and alcohol and how it was unacceptable the way the dance went the previous night. As a result, they announced that that Halloween dance would be the last Halloween dance they ever threw because of what could happen. Everyone was upset, but more so at the pothead teens and the guy that got drunk. Here's the kicker. I didn't know anything about the events that unfolded at the dance as I hadn't attended. I only found out when we got that lecture. Man, those were good old days of high school. Thanks for watching. Share your wild high school stories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more crazy tales.